Thanks for joining us on Shannons Club TV, the program celebrating cars in Australia for their achievements on the road and in competition. If you haven't yet joined the Shannons Club, why not sign up free on the website where you can also connect with other members.
Now, coming up on the show, we're taking a road trip to the Trafalgar Holden Museum in Victoria to meet curator Neil Joyner and some of his classic Holdens. So let's kick things off with the car that brought a fresh and spacious new look to Australia's own, the Holden FE and FC.
The FE Holden was absolutely brilliant for 1956. Not only did it look spectacular in melding General Motors themes already seen in the 1955 Chevy, but it looked more contemporary and cleaner. While retaining all the ruggedness, and then some, of its FJ predecessor, the FE added 2 inches to the wheelbase. It had more interior space and a bigger boot. The FE also brought a new station sedan variant, with demand immediately exceeding supply. The station sedan was arguably more of a fashion statement than the sedan, as our suburbs sprawled. Fashionable 13-inch rims, believe it, replaced the old 15s, but they had to be shod with balloon-style tyres to keep the rolling circumference similar. The downside was that extra weight offset the power increase from 60 to 70 horsepower, although one notable gain was in low-speed torque. Mark, on paper, it looked like the new FE had plenty to offer touring car races.
Yeah, it sure did. I mean, look at the handling improvement. It had a slightly longer wheelbase, a wider track, and for the first time we saw on a Holden a front anti-roll bar. So from the handling viewpoint, there was an improvement.
And was the centre of gravity lower too?
Lower centre of gravity thanks to the drop in wheel diameter from 15 inches down to 13 inches. And it also had a much stronger 12-volt electrical system, which was just great when you're trying to crank over high compression racing engines. So it brought a lot to the table.
Hard to believe those early Holdens had 6-volt electric, surely, isn't it?
Indeed.
The FC brought more than just a facelift, because that bolder grille, the extra helping of chrome, and the new two-tone combinations were accompanied by improved mechanicals. The FC was the first Holden to benefit from durability testing at the Lang Lang Proving Ground before its release. Some observers at the time thought Australians might not like so much extravagant chrome work. How wrong they were, because Australians bought new FC specials in record numbers. In 1958, a family sedan without chrome was like a family home without a TV. Holden's growth seemed unstoppable. In 1958, GMH achieved 50.1% of the total vehicle market, and the FC wagon accounted for a staggering 83% of the burgeoning wagon sector. Ford Australia was forced to develop a homegrown Mark II Zephyr equivalent, as this country followed the US love affair with station wagons. The FC Holden got an unofficial power increase, which explains why nearly all road tests show a reduction in the 0 to 60 miles per hour time from 21 plus seconds to about 19.6. And a surprising increase in top speed from 80 to 82 or even 84. In summary, the FE and FC brought a new glamour to Holden while improving Australia's own cars' trademark value, versatility, all-roads capability and performance. And on top of all that, Mark, it was successful in competition.
Yeah, it sure was. Although the take-up rate by touring car racers maybe wasn't as strong as you would have expected. A racing driver usually wants to be in the latest and greatest car, but if you were a Holden touring car racer in the late 1950s and early 60s, the latest wasn't necessarily the greatest. When Holden released its new look FE Sedan in 1956, the Australian public instantly warmed to its more modern lines, but that widespread affection didn't translate to the racetrack. Compared to the previous humpy 48215 and FJ models, the FE boasted numerous mechanical updates. The only glaring deficiency from a racer's point of view, though, was its more than 40 kilogram weight increase over the FJ. The facelifted and more ornate FC model, which followed in 1958, was heavier again. And in 1950s touring car racing, indeed in any form of racing, weight was a dirty word. John, this was quite a contrast at the time because on the racetrack, the old 48215s and the FJs remained the popular choice, Yet, you know, on the road, the FE and the FC made the Humpies look really 1940s, very old-fashioned.
The contrast between road and track, Mark. I guess not everyone who bought one of those stunning new FEs wanted to take it racing.
Exactly.
It's worth remembering too how much versatility the FE brought to the Holden range. Much, much more than had ever been seen before.
Yeah, it was working on the road for sure. The FE proved to be an excellent long-distance rally car by winning the 1958 Ampol Trial. And despite being outnumbered by highly developed Humpies on the racetrack, there were some very quick FEs which proved to be more than a match. Bob Holden raced a very fast black FE in the late 1950s, which was loaded with Repco racing development parts. With more than 140 brake horsepower, or more than double the FE's standard power output, plus upgraded brakes and suspension, its stunning 115 mph or 185 km/h top speed was a match for most GTs of the era, short of a Ferrari. The hottest FE of the early 1960s era belonged to Bruce McPhee, which started life as a high-mileage ex-government fleet hack. Sydney tuning whiz Ken Waggett extracted huge power from the lime green FE's grey motor, which allowed McPhee to enjoy a meteoric rise to fame on his way to a famous Bathurst win aboard a Monaro in 1968. You can read many other great road and race stories on the Shannons Club website.
Well, welcome to the Trafalgar Holden Museum. I'm Neil Joyner. This morning we're talking about an FE Holden, 1956. They were first introduced. Was advertised and probably introduced women to driving a lot more than maybe the earlier ones. One of the advertisements that I've seen shows Mrs. Jones, and the commentary is, even Mrs. Jones can drive this motor car. I'm not sure that it's politically correct, and I don't know that you get away with it today, but certainly I think it was when they started to target the female market, and I think this was a car that really sort of got them into it. I purchased it from a fella in Kempsey in New South Wales. He bought it from a person who apparently was the first owner. We think it was probably to be allocated for a taxi because of the bar across the back. They bought it as one of the later ones off the line, so you'll notice a few little FC things creeping in on it that make it a little bit odd. But apparently Holden were renowned for stealing next model parts to finish the run out of the previous ones. But this particular car is really a joy to drive. You get a nice sunny day and you lean your elbow out the door and you sort of get into the corner and it's just comfortable and lovely to drive. It just cruises along beautifully. The features about this car and the influence of this car I think is shown up in the FC, which I think is a much more pleasant looking motor car. The addition of a lot more chrome and fins on the back make it a really pretty motor car. And I think it's my favourite looking motor car that Holden ever made. The FE was probably the nicest car to drive that I've got here, but this has just got the best lines of any car they ever made, a Holden, I reckon. This car almost identical to this was my very first Holden. When I turned 18, I bought it, and it was the best day of my life. I've got very happy memories of that. I had it for about 2 or 3 years and did 100,000 mile in it nearly, and loved every minute of it. The FC model sold more than any other car that they'd made up until this time, and any that they made after that up to the EJ, and including the EJ. It was only the EH, which is 1964, did they start to outsell the number that they sold of this. So obviously I wasn't the only one that fell in love with it.
Well, Shannon's National Auctions Manager Chris Borrabon joins us to discuss the ever-popular FE and FC Holden. Welcome to the show, mate.
Mark,
G'day Chris, it's a long time since I've seen an FE on the road. Have you seen one in the auction rooms?
we do see the FCs fairly regularly come through.
They're more popular, the FCs?
More popular. Look, I think more popular maybe in the club potentially, but that's probably because the attrition rate of the FC is probably higher.
It was always a better car, the FC too, wasn't it? What about those fantastic colour combinations? Which have you got some favourites? I think you might like Frankston Cream and
Frankston Cream,
Shannons
Shannons
Green.
Grey. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, look, I mean, they had some great colours. You know, the two tones. There really were some great colours, and I think that sort of made a lot of the FC. Yeah.
It was the era of the custom line too. Double and triple tones.
Yeah, everyone loved the different colours.
FC was a bit like that, really. FC Special.
That's right. And look, and I think that's probably what we see. You know, some of the standards and the specials are the ones coming through the auction house today. So we've seen a fair few of those through. The club, again, you know, a really good, strong following in various clubs around Australia. So we're seeing a fairly good movement for those cars.
What about a special station sedan?
Now that's a rare car in itself.
It'd be a good thing to have, wouldn't it?
Look, I think, you know, when you look at those variants, you know, the special sedan, the utility, the panel vans, you know, those three variants.
Well, the panel van, I mean, the panel van's a beautiful van. That shared the station wagon's flat roof line.
That's right,
But when was the last time you saw an FE or an FC van? I mean, that's super rare.
It is, isn't it? It's you know, and again, if you find one or come across one, you know, grab it.
It's real Australian motoring heritage stuff, isn't it? Though, really, that's just as the suburbs were sprawling out, you know, the east of Melbourne and all over the suburb, people were building these new houses, and the station sedan was just the thing to have. Yeah.
Now, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, this car was, the FE and FC, very popular with hot rodders, street machiners. What would, if they found a car, if someone was interested in buying one of these and it was modified, would the advice be to try and take it back to standard?
I think it depends on the car. I mean, we have seen, you know, I think the FC has been very favoured in that custom and street machine scene over the years, and we've seen some magnificent examples that have been showcased at some of the biggest events in Australia.
They'd be worth big money in themselves.
Worth big money in themselves. So I think if it's a car of that calibre, leave it as it is. But if it's a car that's been mildly modified and is easily enough to take back to original, that's what I'd probably do.
Take it back. Good advice. Thanks for joining us, Chris.
Good, Chris.
And keep in mind, you can keep up to date on all the latest Shannons auctions news on the Shannons Club website. If you'd like your own image of the Holden FE or FC in competition, check out autopix.com.au. John, the FE and FC, what's the defining memory of these cars for you?
Well, Mark, I think it was without doubt the most beautiful car produced by General Motors anywhere in the world in 1956. And you know, I remember when I first saw one, I was a kid of 6 and it was so exciting. Such a cool car.
And when you compare the styling of what came later, the model that replaced it, the FB-EK, it actually looked even more ahead of its time.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, stunning car. Well, we hope you've enjoyed another drive down the nostalgia highway with the fabulous Holden FE and FC. We look forward to your company next time on Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.
Bye.